All right. What is going on, explorers? We are back with another episode, and today is going to be a special episode only because somehow we were able to make this work. Plans got a little muddied around, but we had to figure it out on the fly. So yeah. But before I get into that, I'm just going to go ahead and play the intro music.
Perhaps your skills do extend a bit farther than basketball.
As I was saying, welcome back. My name is Dante. We are Chez Dante, and today we are live with the special. You can go ahead and introduce yourself.
Oh, Ruth.
Ruth Alexandria or Alexandra?
Alexandra. With an S, Alexandra.
Okay. So Ruth Alexandra, we have here live. We're doing an Instagram live. This is something that I always thought was possible, but I never had the opportunity until today. But we're actually making it work. So let's just hop right into it. You had some questions you wanted to ask, or should I just start asking first?
Go for it. Take the lead.
Okay. I'll take the lead. All right. So let's talk about it. You just dropped 2 new tracks, right? Tell me a little bit about those 2 tracks you recently dropped.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I definitely. It's been crazy. I just dropped 2 new tracks in November 25th, November 26th. The first one was called Spanish Rose, and the second one was called Mariposas.
Okay.
And they were tracks I already released before, but this was on a different scale, like definitely better quality, in a production studio, like with a proper engineer. So It was definitely like something that I wanted to like expand on and make it like the best quality, for the people obviously to listen to.
So you said you had them already kind of done before, but not to this production quality, right?
They were bootleg.
They're bootleg. What made you decide to go back and then, get an actual producer and to, raise the quality of this project?
It just because I knew like this wasn't really what I wanted to hear going forward. I guess as you start being an artist, as a creator, content creator, you just want to like, revamp, like, up your own skills. And I guess at that point, as you naturally evolve, my piano skills were evolving, and I was like, okay, it's time to take this to a higher quality, and give the people what they want,
Yeah. So you did 2 songs. Tell me the inspiration for the first song you did, and then we'll go into the second one.
Yeah. So Spanish Rose, the inspiration behind that was just more of like, it kind of came from a sad place. It's not a very happy song if you listen to it. It's not very like uppity. It's a very sad, melon, like, it's more melodic tone, but it happened just kind of randomly. I had the melody in my head, and I just took the inspired action and went right away to the keys and developed the harmony behind it. And Spanish Rose is really just me. Like, it's really like the whole album concept, singles, they're all just like me growing as a person. And this was during the time where I was also taking a lot of Spanish literature, learning a lot of Spanish, which I also do on the side.
Yep.
And that name kind of just came very naturally.
Okay. And so you were in this place, and then all of a sudden you said you kind of heard the melody, and then you brought it straight to the keys. What were you kind of hearing? Was it like simple notes, or like you were listening to like a Netflix show, and then those 2 keys I needed in a song or something? Like, what was the initial spark for that?
Bro, it was so opposite of that. It was actually a point where I was so stressed out because one of my instructors appointed me to be lead pianist. And I was like, but it was like over online. So I had to learn all of this music and put together a bunch of videos and whatever. And I was so stressed about that. But then I was also hearing this other unrelated melody to all the music that I was working on. And it was just like the da 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 da. Like I just had that melody in my head, and I just like got to work on it like right away.
So you just heard it and then you started working on it, but it's interesting that you mentioned that it came from a time where you're like particularly stressed, right? Because they know, that saying, pressure makes diamonds. And I find it fascinating that you went through that stressful time. You dropped these 2 songs, right? Or you came up with these songs. And how would you say, having released those songs, how do you think that's changed you yourself as an artist so far?
It's definitely changed me to know like that it's possible to, like, anything you think of or anything that you have in your mind, you can literally have it in real life, or like a physical copy of it. Like it's just like to see like, okay, the manifestation is real. Whatever I'm thinking in my head, I can translate it like outside of me. And that was really it.
Does it seem surreal, even though like how good you are? Because I've known you for a long time, and I've seen you play the piano like, every once in a while here and there, and it's always like, wow, like I can't even believe you can play the piano that well, even though I kind of can, but at the same time I can't. Like, does it feel surreal to you at this point in time, having just dropped those 2 songs and then to be where you are now?
There is a surreal moment to it where you're just like, dang, I really did that.
Yeah.
Or like, I really put myself out there, and like, you get comments, you get good, bad. I've gotten scrutiny, I've gotten praise, I've gotten like the kind of a lot in between. And it's like, it's like a lot to handle, but like, it does feel surreal that we're able to create and do what we like and do what we love. And that's what really matters.
What initially brought you to playing the piano?
I used to see my dad and my granddad play piano all the time in church, like growing up. That was just like something really normal, like Jamaican Christmas, like music all the time. Like that's just like a normal part of it's just a normal part of my reality. So I was always fascinated with the piano and just seeing my granddad in church doing like these crazy melodies across the organ. I don't play organ, but like, like just doing these crazy melodies. And I was just always fascinated. And I was the one that says, put me in lessons. Like, I want to do lessons.
Really?
It was never them pushing me. Never.
That's interesting. Most people get forced into lessons. I was forced into lessons. And as you know, I don't play piano. But you actively sought out to play piano. Like, what about it made you want to say like, hey, put me in lessons? Was it like you were just looking at your father and your grandfather like, wow, I want to be able to do that, so put me in lessons to be able to?
I just thought it was fascinating, and I was like, okay, I want to do this too. There was really no end goal when I'm like 7 years old at that
Fair
point.
Enough. True.
Or I'm like, there's no end goal. Like, I just want to do that. And for a while I was just, telling them, put me in lessons. Like, I would like to learn the piano. And now as I gotten older, I feel like there's a different kind of pressure where they pressure me to be greater or to do better things. So I'm getting a different kind of pressure now.
Okay. Now, do you only play piano, or do you play other instruments or anything like that, or is it primarily piano?
It is primarily piano, but I do play saxophone.
Okay.
And I was playing saxophone for many years too, also in university.
Okay.
And I did a lot of jazz ensembles, wind ensembles, all of that.
Nice.
Beautiful stuff.
Do you find that playing the saxophone influences the way you play piano? Like, do you understand what I'm trying to say? Like, do you kind of play piano the same way you would play a saxophone?
Not really, which is really strange.
Okay.
It's quite opposite.
Interesting.
So piano, I felt like, because it was so structural, because I went to lessons, because I was trained mostly classical, because I was always looking at sheet music.
Yeah.
I can look at my hands and I can look at the music, right? It was always very like visual. But for saxophone, it's more, what's the word? Like,
feel, like intuitive?
Audio.
Oh, just
audio and like a feeling.
Yeah, okay, just off listening to it. Got it.
Right? Because with those instruments, you can't actually see your hands, right? So you have to rely more on your ears than anything. And that's where I don't think that's like where, I think that was like the foundation of creating a very good ear and almost perfect pitch.
Okay.
I wouldn't say I have perfect pitch, but I have like next to like one
as perfect as you can pitch.
As perfect as I can, right?
Yeah.
There are some people who have like perfect pitch.
Nice.
So yeah, playing the saxophone developed perfect pitch. And I don't play them. They're very much different. Like saxophone, I can improvise, I can memorize a lot better.
Mm-hmm.
And then with piano, it's just like I need like something visual. So yeah, they're quite opposite.
Now, I asked, did the piano help, or did the saxophone help your piano? But do you feel like the piano helped your saxophone in any way? Because like in terms of like being able to read the music, or is there no sheet music for a saxophone? I really don't know. Like, I don't know.
Okay.
I don't know much about saxophone.
Yeah.
Is there sheet music for those things, or like what's going on?
Of course. Yeah, there's 100%. There's and when I learned how to read music for piano, translating that over to saxophone was easy. The only difference you have to make is like, okay, C is C across the scale, across any instrument you play. It's just, okay, what button or what finger is C on that instrument? That's the only thing that you're translating. Okay, like I have to do different finger movements to get to this note. That's really it. But yeah, no, they both are very interchangeable, and they both help me in different ways. And languages, music is a language, and there's like, infinite words and infinite possibilities, all of those things.
100%. So with the music you've released, tell me what that writing process was like. Like, did you go through many iterations? Did you, just kind of freestyle off the top and say, this is done? Like, what happened?
I would just say at first it came really natural. Like, it all just came through. It all just came through the inspiration that I was feeling at that moment. Okay. And then later on, I would start writing the score. I would write like my ideas down of how I would want it to go. But yeah, all of the music that I have has some kind of notation. Okay. So, and that's usually how it starts. Even if it's not finished, it's usually like notated in some kind of way. And then yeah, the process I just like revisit when I'm more inspired, or when another idea comes to me and I'm like, oh, okay, that would be cool if I added in there, and I changed this. And also feedback from other musicians is really important, because you might not hear what somebody else hears. Yeah. And then they can give you constructive feedback. I know for Mariposas, I got very good constructive feedback from a very lovely producer. She was very lovely to me. And she was like, oh, you need to bring this down, or you can change this. This can be more impactful here. And like little techniques that I wasn't aware of that will make the music better to what you hear it is now, which I believe is really great. No, but it came from, other people's opinion in that constructive way. And
do you find that when you are encountering specific, music problems, do you bring it to specific people, or is it more like, this is kind of a general sound that I'm working on, or a song, what are you hearing? And, if there's any changes that I could make, or is it just like, you bring a specific sort of issue to a specific person?
I definitely have people that I can bring like issues to, like in terms of sound or changing things. I never want to think that I am the know-it-all, or I know everything, because that's not true, right? And I'm talking to these people because I know that they're going to give me the constructive answer, and the answer that I need. Oh, this doesn't sound good, or you're off here, or change this, or something of that nature, right? Yeah. And it's about like not having an ego behind 100%. Making music. Yeah. Yeah, it's a lot of hard work. Even with podcasts, anything you do, you want to seek help.
Yeah, no, 100%. You want to seek help. You want to find people, and this is something that I've learned within the last year and a half, 2 years. Seek out people that are kind of doing what it is you want to do. No disrespect, but take this clown off of here. Who's the clown here, buddy? Are you talking about this thing behind me? I don't see no
this clowns. Thing behind you, I don't
know. But yeah, no, seeking help from other people is so important, and seeking help from people that are actually doing what it is you want to do, right? Like, almost seeing is believing, right? So finding those people that are actually in the lane that you want to learn and study or whatever it may be, it's so important. How would you recommend someone that's in music or in piano, classical piano or saxophone, like how would you recommend people, make those connections?
Yeah, I mean, yeah, you just gotta, you have to put yourself out there first. You can't waiting around for opportunities.
Mm-hmm.
Like as soon as you see an opportunity, go after it.
Yeah.
Like you have to be the one to go after it, apply for that job, apply for that grant. A lot of artists don't know that there's quite literally millions of dollars you can apply for.
Really?
There's so many things that you can actually apply for as an artist and get your exposure that you need. So I would say and you have to do your research. So to anybody who wants to get into this, do your research, take any opportunities that come your way. And just know they're not going to be given freely. You have to actually put in the work.
Mm-hmm.
You have to, you have to work. You got to show up for yourself.
Yep.
But just know it's going to pay off, and just, be grateful with every stage that you're at. There's always something to learn.
Yeah.
And there's no final destination.
Yeah.
It's just a journey.
It's just a journey. Exactly. No, that's so 100%. So did you have any questions for me? Let's switch it up.
Yeah, we will flip the script. Okay, so Chez Dante.
Yeah.
Chez Dante.
That's me.
Tell us about Chez Dante.
Okay.
What is Chez Dante?
Chez Dante is a place. It's a place that exists everywhere. What's that movie called? Everywhere, all the time, everywhere at once or something? That movie that just came out. I forget what the name of the movie is. Everywhere, everything, everywhere, all at once, or something like that. It's this new action.
Okay.
I have yet to see it yet.
Omnipresent, or
exactly.
Everything all at once.
Yeah, it's an omnipresent space, right? Because it's online. It's in the cloud. It's it's in the ether, whatever you want to call it. So Chez Dante is basically a place where I'm constructing a little library, I guess, or a place where people can go to learn new things, hear different points of view, listen to conversations, or, maybe hear a thought that they've never even heard before. One thing I find that's super important, or not really important, but is important to at least this platform is when you're listening to a conversation, while you're listening to it, you can have one thought that changes the way you look at things, right? And I think those kind of thoughts are super important because some people can get almost stuck in a repetitive loop, right? So even if it's just one specific thought where it's oh, I never thought of it that way, and then they can kind of adjust their course or whatever, that's, one of the important things. So yeah, Chez Dante, like I said, it's a place that exists in the real world, but also everywhere, all at once. Most people think it's Chez Dante because it's spelled Chez or Z if you live in America. But it's actually pronounced Chez because it's French, right? So in French, when you want to go to someone's place, you're oh, I would like to go Chez wherever, right? So when you want to go to my place, you want to go Chez Dante. So that's kind of where the name comes from, and it's all kind of tied in, right? It's a full mesh topology, as they would say in IT.
Chez Dante, because I was looking at him and I was Chez Dante.
Yeah.
And this is my English brain, right?
Yeah, so. I get that a lot. People just think it's Chez. But it's okay.
And how did Chez Dante come about? What made you inspired to start your podcast?
Well, what inspired me to start my podcast is I like the fact that with podcasts, it's equivalent to setting something in stone, right? So even though it's technically not in stone, and if we lose the internet and electricity, then it's gone. But for the time being, when you start a podcast, all those episodes are there forever. And I wanted to make a conscious decision to okay, I want to, like I said, build a place where I can just put information that people can learn from, and things that I've learned or am currently learning or experiencing, or like I said, having conversations. I wanted to be able to put them all into one space, right? And so I started the podcast February of 2020, maybe, if I can remember. It's been
I think you were talking about it for a minute, though. Like you were talking about it for a minute.
Yeah. So, well, I had did it, and then I stopped. Like, I never stopped, but like in the earlier days, I was taking like long breaks in between episodes, which is not the best. I wasn't staying consistent, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so I wanted to basically just focus on being more consistent and getting more episodes out, getting more guests, getting better conversations out. But yeah, no, it was February 2020, and me and a group of friends, we kind of just had like a round table discussion. And we were just talking, and I was like, you know what? Yeah, let's, like we said, we're going to make it a podcast. We like set the date and everything. And then ever since then, I've just like kind of kept it going. I kept sort of like fanning the podcast flame, you know, keeping the campfire alive.
Yeah. And sometimes it is like that. You just keep burning it.
Legit. Yeah.
Keeping it on fire. No, that's awesome. Do you, how are we doing for time? Okay. Well,
yeah.
So how many people have you had on your podcast thus far? Are you very selective of the people you have? Like, do you keep it to like artists? Do you keep it to like people who are?
No, I'm not really selective, to be honest. I select whoever wants to be on the podcast. Like, and it's not just for artists. Like I said, I'd like to get as many different opinions and different kinds of people. Like I was talking to this guy that does like carpentry, and he started his own carpentry business during lockdown. So I wanted to get him on and talk about like business and all those sort of things. But yeah, no, I've the amount of people I've had, I would say maybe 10 to 12, maybe. I'm not too sure, but it's like around 10 to 12. And that's just guess. Like a lot of the episodes are kind of just me talking or, you know, reading a book or talking about, you know, an idea with people, whatever it may be.
Mm-hmm. What do you think has been the most rewarding thing about doing your podcast or starting your podcast?
I would say one of the most rewarding things is I feel like doing these podcasts, especially when I have guests, it helps with the conversation muscle, right? So I feel like I'm able to have like an extended conversation and stay engaged and focused, and I'm not like thinking about this and that. Like I feel like the more of these conversations that I've been doing, the more podcasts that I've been doing, I've been able to kind of have these higher quality, longer lasting conversations outside of the podcast. So that's been pretty rewarding. Yeah. Another thing is like, you know, some people, they see the things that I posted and then they'll be like, hey, like, you know, thank you for posting this. Like, this is the thing that I needed to see today. And like little things like that, like those things also really matter to me. Or like, you know, I have a friend who's like, hey man, like, you know, I just listened to this last episode, you know, keep doing this. And like, you know, that's also a motivation. So I think those are kind of the things that have been like the most rewarding for me since doing the podcast. And like, also I get to learn, right? I get to learn new things. Mm-hmm. So you can't go wrong with learning.
Yeah. Student for life.
Yeah.
And what do you say? What is your advice to somebody who is looking to start up their own podcast?
An advice for someone that's looking to start up their own podcast. Okay. Find something that you can talk about, right? Because if you start a podcast and then you don't have anything to talk about, you're just going to have an empty podcast, right? Or maybe you record one episode and then you'd be like, oh, well, I just covered this whole thing that I thought I was going to talk about. But if you have like, for instance, like, oh, you want to do like a soccer podcast because the World Cup's going on and soccer is going to be going on forever and ever and ever, then you're always going to be able to talk about it as long as you're genuinely interested in that topic, right? So pick something you're genuinely interested in and something that you could talk about forever.
Yeah.
And then,
that is true.
Yeah.
You did mention like a few things. I think you did post the 7 hermetic principles.
Yeah, the 7 hermetic principles.
Seems like you like to talk about kind of everything and the expansion and like spirituality. Mm-hmm. Is that something you can talk about like forever?
Yeah, because it literally goes on forever. Like trying to understand self and understand the universe. Like the universe is already ever expanding. So trying to understand something that's ever expanding in itself is also ever expanding. Like that will also go on forever. And, you know, the reasons I talk about like the spirituality and all that stuff is because that's also like, you know, that's another direction that I can talk about. Like that's something that I'm interested in that can go on forever, that I will be interested in forever, because it's like, you know, what do I know spiritually? You know, like I'm always learning, but the spiritual journey goes on forever. So
yeah, it's
you know,
true.
yeah.
Totally.
Just to the last point for the, you know, starting a podcast, another thing is just make sure you get good audio quality. I think audio quality is important.
That would be fun. Yeah, for sure. So where can people find 𝓟There Dante?
You can find 𝓟There Dante on Instagram at 𝓟There Dante, 𝐶HEZDANTE. You can listen to it on Spotify as well. Same name. You could find all the episodes on there. I also have a Patreon if you guys would like to go and support on the Patreon. It only costs a low amount of an ice cap from Tim. Yeah, like, you know, people buy ice caps from Tim Hortons all the time, right? So that's as much as it costs. Like for a monthly subscription, like it's like paying for one ice cap. And like all the episodes that I do are on the Patreon first, and then they later then come out on Spotify. And then as well as you can find them on YouTube as well. Some of them are audio exclusive. Some of them are video. The videos are on YouTube. But yeah, YouTube, Spotify, Patreon. And then Instagram as well. As you can see, we're doing an Instagram Live today.
Awesome. Okay. Any more questions? Maybe we should open up the chat. I don't know.
Yeah.
I think everybody's kind of just saying hi.
Yeah, we can open up we can do like a Q&A. We have some time left.
Q&A if anybody has any.
Is there anyone in chat that has any questions they want to ask? I saw Abundance. Amani was in here for a bit. Maybe you're still in there, Salu.
I think somebody said hi. Yeah. Hi, Ruth. But if not, then we'll just close it off here.
Yeah, we'll give it like 2 minutes or something, and
yeah.
I have some.
I don't know if you can see the same. You can see the same on your end, right?
Yeah, I can see the chat, so we'll give it like another 2 minutes, and if not, then we will we'll call it an episode, because this was really fun. I haven't done something like this, but now that I know that it's possible, like I've seen it, now I can believe it. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I mean, you're quite literally a genius where you're like, oh, we could just do Instagram Live. And I'm like, me forgetting we live in a digital age. Like, I don't know. It's kind of strange. Like,
it is weird, right? Like a lot of these solutions you kind of forget are like literally right there at your fingertips. You know what I mean? Like, I think it was like Young Dolph. He said like, you know, you can get rich off just your phone. Like literally just an iPhone, you can get rich. If you know how to use it as a tool, like that's all you need. What are some of the most important lessons you think people are going into business for themselves are?
Wait, say that again.
What are some of the most? Yeah, do you want to read? I think that one's for you, maybe. I don't know.
What are some of the most important lessons do you think people going into business for themselves are? Most important lessons. I mean, I do run my own business, like 𝓟There.ee. So piano teaching, compositions, projects, all that stuff.
Oh yeah, I forgot to talk about that. So talk a little bit about that and then answer the question.
Oh, 𝓟There. Like 𝓟There is just Island Sea. And it's basically just a place, kind of like yours. It's a library where I have my compositions. You can have lessons with me. It's just a place to have everything, piano samples, and, you know, make collaborations. I think the best lesson to learn is just to like know your worth. And like, if you're offering a product, don't sell yourself short. And if somebody's not willing to pay full price, then that's okay. There's somebody else who's going to pay full price. It's always about knowing your worth. And like, you don't have to negotiate if somebody cannot meet your prices. They're like, okay, well, there's a lineup, like, right? And you need to believe that too. You also need to believe like there are going to be clients. There are good days and bad days, but there's always going to be clients. There's always people who are willing to pay for the service that you offer, and your service is not cheap. Especially you know, we both went to school.
Yeah.
School's expensive.
School's expensive.
Right? And we went to school to, you know, better ourselves. So in return, we're not asking for too much.
Yeah.
We're not asking for too much. Just know your worth.
Yeah. No, that's a great lesson. And I would say an important lesson as well, like maybe this is just coming at it for me from the spiritual side of things, but, you know, don't just go into business for yourself. You know what I mean? Because that's not going to have the best outcome for yourself. Even though it sounds like it would, like, oh, I'm going to be rich and, you know, all these things. Like,
oh, I'm going to cut these checks.
Yeah, like, you know, don't just go into business for yourself. Figure out why it is you actually want to go into business. Like, you know, I would suggest read the book, you know, start with why and just figure out why do you want to start this business and, you know, how can I maybe help the people around me and those sort of things. So that's what I would say. And then, you know, your answer was also great. You know your worth.
Yeah, like you have to realize, like if you're doing something, you want to be of service, right? You getting paid is just the result of your service. You know, that's really it. But you always want to be of service.
100%. Was
there another question?
Yeah, this one says, what are some great connections you have made with the podcast? So one of the connections that I've made because of this podcast is actually in this space that I'm currently in, right? So this is actually an art space, an art studio space that I don't think I would have gotten the connection if not for having started the podcast, where I can go, I can do art here. There's other artists here. They're also doing different kinds of art. It's not just painting. Like, you know, behind me, someone did paint this, but there's photographers, there's people doing clothing and all these things. So I think, you know, having this podcast has allowed me to branch out and make sort of connections out here in the real world that I would not have necessarily made if it weren't for me doing the podcast. Are there more questions?
It's not what you know, it's who you know.
It is, yeah.
Yeah, it is.
Someone asked, when are your piano lessons going to be available?
They're available right now, but I am taking a limited amount of clients. I'm taking the first 5 serious clients who want to better themselves and better their piano skills. So they are available. You can make an inquiry to 𝓟There and we'll get back to you there. I don't take inquiries through direct email. If somebody does inquire me, I send them right to my website because for me, although I want to be accessible and engage with people, there is also like a business side to run, and I like to keep things professional that way. That way, my artistry and my business don't get in the way, and they're not like, you know, that's very separate.
100%.
But yes, they're available right now.
Next question says, what's a good mic to get for podcasting if you want something better than your phone mic? If you want, well, it depends on how much better than your phone mic, because you can actually get like a phone attachment. So it's like a mic for your phone.
Like those little things.
Yeah, like there's like a little like Rode mic that, you know, it just plugs into the bottom of an iPhone. That works really well. You know, currently I have these, you know, also, this is also a Rode mic, but, you know, these ones are pretty good. The Rode pod mics, they're on the cheaper side of microphones, you know, like $100, $150 in that range. Yeah, but even just like having like, you know, a USB microphone or like a Skype microphone, just something that's better than the stock, you know, iPhone mic, webcam microphone, whatever, that'll help.
Of course. I have a Rode too, but I barely use it. Not getting any love. But yeah, Rode mics are really great.
They are. And, you know, also I would suggest, you know, doing your research for, you know, depending on what kind of podcast you want to do. Another thing I would suggest is also reaching out to someone that produces podcasts, like myself. Hi, my name is Dante. I also produce podcasts. But these kind of people can help you figure out what microphones you need, because say you're doing like a discussion where maybe you're sitting at a table, you might not want a mic that's going to pick up a lot of background noise and stuff like that, because you're talking so close, you're going to get feedback. But say you're just having a conversation like just by myself, and you're, where you are, a mic like this, or like I said, anything is better than an iPhone mic. Do you see any more questions there on your end?
Let's just see. Let me get into this. Your smile is alluring. I think he's talking to you, Dante.
No, I'm pretty sure they're talking to you.
That one was for you. What about having multiple streams of income? I love this question.
Okay, go for it.
Multiple streams of income. If you're not on this right now, I'm going to tell you to get on this, because this is just what we're living in. Mm-hmm. Like so many times where one of my main income fell off, mm-hmm. having my other business or other side hustles saved me so many times. Right? To the point where I was like, God damn, this is just like what it is. Yeah. So of course, have multiple streams of income. Some of them may give you a big return. Some of them give you a little return. Whatever it is, just try to put your eggs in different baskets and, see what comes out of it. I think it's super important.
How would you, just to piggyback off of that, how would you find multiple streams of income, and how would you, divvy that up with your personal being?
I would just...
Hello?
There was times where I wasn't doing music, but I was really good at makeup, and people would hire me to do their makeup, mm-hmm. or to do their hair, or to do like something completely unrelated to my profession. Yeah. So just find ways to be of service, mm-hmm. And then, that will usually pay you out in some kind of way. But yeah, having multiple streams of income is very smart. Yeah. Especially now because we're young and houses are like millions.
Oh, I know, right? You definitely need multiple, not even streams. You need multiple oceans of income if you want a house these days. The stream's not going to cut it. You need the whole Nile. Yeah.
The whole Nile River, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. What would you say, though? What would you say?
Yeah, I think finding find skills where you can monetize yourself being of service to people, right? And then also... what else could I say about multiple streams of income? Just kind of, plan it out. I would say plan out what you would like to do, figure out what the numbers would be, and then just kind of base it off that and look at your streams, like actually take in the physical, like the numbers of it, and see like, okay, this stream maybe is bringing in this one, this stream's bringing in this, but in total, all whatever many streams are bringing in this. So I think, look at it physically and actually take note of it is important. Mm-hmm. Yeah. If there's any more questions, I think we'll wrap it up. We'll give like another minute for any last minute questions, and then we're good.
Mm-hmm. I think somebody said, "Where are you from? Where are you guys from?"
Canada.
Don't disclose too much information.
I'm from Toronto, Canada. So without giving away too much details, just Toronto, Canada.
Toronto, Canada.
Yeah.
Toronto, Canada. That's it.
It's so funny. This one time I was in Montreal, and I was like in the store, and I was like asking for something. And then the lady that was helping me was like, "Oh, you're a Toronto man, Zay." I'm like, aren't you supposed to be like French? Like, what's going on here? But yeah.
Because of your accent?
I guess so. Like, there was I forget who it was, but there was, at the time, there was like that guy that was like famous from Scarborough. I forget his name. Not Jimmy from the Six, but like some other guy.
You sound like him, that guy.
Do I actually? Maybe that's why. What's so funny? Someone actually said I sound American, and I'm like, oh, I'm from Toronto, Canada, but they think I sound American.
I mean, we are American. So.
Yeah, North American.
Yeah, North American.
Yeah.
That happens to me like so many times when I would like I used to work like from this telephone company and I would soon get on the call with them. They're like, "Oh my God, thank you." That they were like, "Thank God you're American." They're like, "Are you from like Miami or like LA or something?" I'm like, "Dang,
that's so funny." Meanwhile, you're freezing in Canada.
like, bro, cold as shit over here.
Right.
Yeah.
All right. Well, I don't see any more questions. You have family in Canada? Shout out to family in Canada, you know. Canada's kind of where it's at.
Support each other.
Yeah.
I have family in Canada.
Sorry?
Oh, I'm just reading his thing.
Yeah. Well, thank you guys so much for listening to this episode. I thought you both were y'all from the States. See, this is what I mean.
We get that all the time.
You know what, though? I think one of the things before I end this podcast episode, I do think one of the things is that as like Canadians, we do embody a lot of American culture. Like we listen to like a lot of American music and American media and slang and stuff like that. So it kind of,
I think we know more about American politics than our own politics.
Yeah. Well,
right?
Yeah. Like, you know,
like I feel like.
Go ahead.
No, I feel like anything when it comes to news or anything to do with America, we know more about them than we know about our own legislation, like whatever's going on here.
Yeah.
Like, I don't really know what's going on.
Like I know 2 governors of state just off like, you know, in America, but I don't know like any other like provinces premiers. Like, do you know like who's the premier of Alberta? Nobody knows. What's the premier? I know, right? But yeah,
all I know is J. Trudeau. Okay, that's all
exactly.
I know.
Wait, he's the premier. He's the prime minister. The prime minister. There we go. But yeah,
he's the OG.
You know, thank you guys so much for listening to this episode. My name is Dante. We've been Chez Dante, and today we had a conversation with
RuthAlexsandra.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, actually, before we go, I do like to end off episodes by saying, you know, 2 things you're grateful for. So what are 2 things you're grateful for?
Ooh, why are you going to put me on like that?
It doesn't have to be
2 things
anything.
that I'm grateful.
Huh?
No, go on.
No, I was going to say, it doesn't have to be anything like super crazy. Just like off the top of your head, like what's something you're grateful for? 2 things.
I'm grateful to have done this. Like, I think it was like just, it was a new experience, right?
Yeah.
We were supposed to go to, like, I was supposed to be there at the studio. And even though that will still happen, like, I'm still grateful that we were still able to do this.
100%.
So yeah, that's one thing I'm grateful for. And I don't know, just sometimes coming home and seeing my cat, seeing my granddad, just seeing like the people around me and just being like, it's chill, like we're good.
Yeah. No,
like that just makes me, you know, really grateful.
That's great. For me, I would say, let's see, I'm grateful for one. I always got to say I'm grateful for the space that I get to use. You know, thank you to the 𝁟There for allowing me to use your studio and your space. And, you know, I'm grateful for you for wanting to be on this platform and talk about your music and, you know, share your knowledge on piano and saxophone and businesses and stuff like that. So I'm super grateful. And I appreciate you coming on.
Yeah, appreciate you having me. And we will do it in person and it'll be...
Yep. It'll be...
Yeah, I'm excited.
I'm excited. All right. Thank you so much.
Yeah.
Peace.
Right. Bye.
Bye-bye. All right. Well, that was it, guys. I hope you enjoyed the episode. This was a little bit different. I wasn't really looking towards the camera for you guys over there on the YouTube. I was kind of more focused on the IG Live because that's what we were doing. But it was kind of fun. Let me know what you guys think below. Once again, you know, the Patreon is in the link in the description below. Make sure you guys support for the low cost of an ice cap from Tim Hortons. That's it. Just 1 ice cap a month. I know you guys drink more than 1 ice cap a month. Leave a comment, leave a like, and make sure to tell a friend to tell a friend. And here's the outro music. Ooh.
Further.
I'm sorry?
You said my skills extend farther than the basketball court. Farther relates to distance. Further is a definition of degree. You should have said further.